Hello and welcome to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
Before we dive into who our guest is today, Joe's going to remind us of our show's purpose.
Our show's purpose is to bring people that are seeking service out there, that's you that we're talking to, and partnering them with people that have great stories of service and organizations that are constantly serving. And that's why we are all part of Rotary, a huge organization that serves a lot of people.
We're going to hear how many people with our next guest.
Yeah, that's right.
We sure are. So the Tom Gump saga continues. He's
Number 4.
He is an all-time favorite guest. I mean, selfishly, we enjoy having him on because he's not only a fellow Rotarian in our club specifically, but because he is the aide to the upcoming president, we just don't see him as frequently anymore.
Well, what are we going to do when we don't have that resource up there? Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Tom's trajectory looks like in Rotary.
Yeah, maybe president. Who knows? We'll
Someday.
see.
He's just gonna retire back to a lowly club member.
I don't see that.
I don't see that happening either.
He's a pretty high achiever, it sounds like. So, well, let's dive into it. We're excited for you to listen and hear a little bit more about what Tom has to share with us.
Let's do it.
I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. We'll be back.
Are you ready to make a difference in your community? Rotary is a great place to get involved in your community and meet passionate groups of people, as well as individuals dedicated to service and fellowship. At Rotary, we believe in the power of teamwork to bring positive change. As a member, you will have the opportunity to participate in exciting projects that address local and global challenges. From supporting educational initiatives to environmental conservation, we tackle it all. Joining a Rotary Club means becoming part of a diverse family of individuals who share a passion for giving back and having fun while making positive impact. With projects and events that enrich your community, there's something for everyone, from local initiatives to international collaborations. It doesn't matter what culture or country you come from. What matters is that you want to belong to a group that strengthens communities and creates lasting change. There's a place for everyone at Rotary, regardless of age or background. Learn more by searching for a Rotary Club in your community and visiting. Together, let's make a difference. Rotary, people of action. Rotary is a place for all community-minded people who want to serve their areas with the support of an international organization. Join Rotary to find service. Join Rotary to find inclusion. Join Rotary to find leadership. Join Rotary to find fun. Join Rotary to find friendship. Join Rotary to find a better version of the world. Find a Rotary Club near you at Rotary.org and click on Club Finder. There is a club out there for everyone. Find your fit with Rotary. Rotary.org.
Up your game and show off your Rotary Club spirit. Did you know there's a one-stop shop for all things Rotary apparel? Russell Hampton Company is the world's largest provider of licensed Rotary branded merchandise. From apparel like hats, jackets, and shirts to banners, tents, and awards, they have it all. And most things are customizable. And they can handle orders of all sizes. Russell Hampton Company also has deep connections to Rotary. In 1920, the company founder was part of Rotary Club No. 1 in downtown Chicago. Russell Hampton Company models their business on the Rotary 4-way test and gives back 10% of all purchases to Rotary, supporting its global work. So the next time you and your club are out on a service project, arrive with the right swag from Russell Hampton Company to promote your club and Rotary. Even non-Rotarians will want some of your cool hats, shirts, and jackets. Learn more at bestclubsupplies.com. That's bestclubsupplies.com.
Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
Before we dive into who our in-house guest is today, Chad is going to remind us about our show's sponsor.
We want to thank Russell Hampton for sponsoring the show, the number one printer for Rotary in the country. They, if you're watching online, you can see some of the swag they sent us. They can print anything from a tumbler to cutting board to
shirts, anything.
You name it. So whether you're looking for some Rotary gear or just some printing for your business, check out russellhampton.com.
Well, we want to take just a moment to honor our guest today in person, the Tom Gump. He 4 times he has been our guest. 4 times, and that's quite an impressive run, Tom. Welcome back. We're happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
For those of you who do not know who Tom is, I pity you. Nope, I'm just kidding.
Must be your first episode.
Yeah. So Tom is the aide to Rotary International President Stephanie Urchek. Stephanie A. Urchek. Let me just add that initial in. She's coming up. She's coming up here in July as our international president for Rotary. And how are you feeling about it, Tom? How are you feeling about this transition?
I'm very excited about it. It is an awful large transition. We have 1.4 million Rotarians around the world, and they're divided up into zones, which a zone pair has about 50,000 people in it. And that's divided into districts, usually, probably 16 districts per zone. It changes in different areas of the world. Then clubs, we have 45,000 of them. Districts, we have 525 districts and a few undistricted that are also doing that. And then basically we have a lot of changeover. Each club gets a new president. Every district gets a new district governor. And our president changes every year. Our directors change once every 2 years. Our trustees every 4 years. So that's good and bad. We have a lot of energy because we have new thoughts, we have new ideas. So that's great. Every July 1st we have all that. But it's important that all those leaders have continuity with the leaders that follow them. So our goal is to make sure everyone works together.
That's got to be a lot.
How are you guys working together right now in preparation for the transition in, just a little while here?
What exactly does that look like in kind of maintaining that continuity, to your point?
Well, RIPE, Rotary International President-elect Stephanie, has been working hard with our current president, Gordon McAnally, and with the president nominee, who's Mario. They had a board meeting this past week. They're today, as we speak, having a board retreat training the new directors. So basically we have 34 zones. They're divided up into zone pairs. So we have 17 directors plus a president-elect and the president. They are doing a board retreat with the directors-elect, training them how to be directors. It's really a hard position if you think about it because you have to learn as much as you can about Rotary and you only have 2 years. So sometimes it takes almost a year to figure out what committees there are, who are on the committees, and then so the first-year class and the second-year class make a board of directors.
Mm-hmm. I just have a vision of does the outgoing class play pranks on the incoming class?
Oh my gosh!
What they try to do, Joe, is they try to work together well.
Yeah,
and they try to make sure it's not the first-year class against the second-year class and those kind of things. So that's why this retreat this weekend is so important because they're trying to get them up to speed. Stephanie's doing things a little bit different this year because she's asking all the incoming directors to take a positive peace class so they can be peace activators. Okay. And, of course, it's an Illinois corporation, Rotary International, so they follow corporate law. So they have to. There's a duty of care and a duty of being reasonable. So a good board director will actually ask questions, not too many, but find out what's going on, and they will vote. And they'll prepare, and it's always important to prepare for those meetings.
It's a lot.
Have you identified your desk yet? These are the kind of things that I think about. You guys have so much. Tom's like, wait a second, you get a desk? I don't get a desk. You don't get a desk.
Yeah.
I have a desk in Stephanie's office. It's her office, and I have a desk there, and I enjoy being there.
Yeah, these are the silly questions that I think of.
Forget
about solving world problems.
Yeah,
Where's your desk?
Apparently, coming from a corporate world is very you're structured thinking with that.
For whatever reason, I have the West Wing stuck in my head when they do the transition of from one to the next, and they all play jokes on each other. And
so all three in the presidential line, the nominee, the elect, and the president have an office on the 18th floor, which is the top floor
Sure.
of Rotary International.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then when does the, I guess, third in line, when does the next president-elect get elected or nominated?
Halfway through the Rotary year. So when you're a president nominee, you have 2.5 years to get ready for it. And then you have a half year as nominee, and then you have a full year as president-elect, and you have a full year as president. And the duties change a lot. So when you're a nominee, you do a lot of planning. You plan for the major events coming up in your year. During a typical year, you would usually have an international assembly where they train the assistant governors. You would have a convention that's at the end of your president's year. And then you may have a presidential peace conference. And then Stephanie has a council on legislation, which is our parliament for Rotary International. That happens once every 3 years. They have a council on resolution that meets regularly, so there's not too many things to consider. But that'll be during Stephanie's year. And then once every 8 years, you have rezoning, which we're happy that that's not happening. Which is,
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
That's
it's
my husband.
a merging of different cultures if you have to take a zone and put them together. And that's all based on membership population. So what we're trying to do is get as many members in Rotary International as we can, and that's a priority of all the presidents.
Yeah. You mentioned, a number of things. Let's kind of break them down. So you talked about the peace convention.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
There is a presidential peace conference, and we are lucky that we have a new peace center in the Middle East. So during Stephanie's year, she's having her presidential peace conference in Istanbul, Turkey. It'll be at the end of February 2025, and she's going all out. There's a committee that's meeting regularly for that, and it's going to be great because we're going to ask the trustees to use their allocation to come, and the board of directors, and the peace fellows. And also there's going to be an outward-facing event, which will be a peace walk. And we're going to ask Rotary actors to come. It'll be a celebration of the first class graduating from that Peace Center.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I mean, it's a unique that doesn't come around as often as some of the other things. Are they planned regularly, or is it more kind of needs based?
The incoming president decides whether she or he will have a presidential peace conference and how many. It's funded in part by ticket sales. We hope to have 1,000 people. And it's funded in part by the Rotary Foundation, which is a different entity than Rotary International.
So you said it's the first class graduating. How long is a 4-year, 2-year? How long would it get founded, though?
So we have a full-year degree program at that particular university. We also have a certificate program, and this will be a full year, and then they go off to do great things in the world that are focused on peace, which could either be peacekeeping or in scholarly pursuits.
Are they all really good cooks? Because I feel like that, a lot of good peace can be made through eating.
We have 1,800 that have graduated through the program around the world, and I'm
awesome.
sure some of them are good cooks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Like, I mean, it's really funny when you break bread with people. It does make a difference.
Together.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Joe, that brings up a good point, because I think the other thing that really brings people together is spending time together. So I really like that we have this youth exchange program in Rotary, and that is a huge deal. The NAIN, North American Youth Exchange Network, had theirs in Vancouver a few weeks back, their annual conference, and it was amazing. Now there's different groups around the world, and there's one forming in Asia now, and they were all represented there. But I've heard it say that if there was a war between two nations and there were two leaders that were youth exchange individuals, we probably wouldn't have that war. And the cool thing coming up, our next president after Stephanie from Brazil, he's our first president that started in youth exchange. And he did his exchange from Brazil here in Minnesota at White Bear Lake.
Why not?
So it's just amazing. Wow. So President...
All the way from Brazil
Yes.
to Minnesota.
Yes, and now he considers Minnesota his second country. So we're trying to get him here for our district conference. That'll be at the state fair and that kind of thing. So say your prayers.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's
Fingers
right.
crossed.
That's coming up.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
I just had something on that. Oh, the youth exchange piece. Like, it's amazing how many people have gone through youth exchange and then how that's their introduction either into Rotary or just how they're familiar with Rotary is through the youth exchange. It really is a powerful tool that seems to be a real backbone component of what Rotary is all about.
And I love when the exchange students get together. We usually, when we have one living with us, at the end of the year they have a party. And it's always interesting to listen to them talk about their countries. And I just felt like if all our world leaders can talk openly like they do about politics and things like that, I think the world would be a better place.
Yeah, man.
If only it was that easy, right?
Well, it is
Would
that
be
easy.
so
That's the
nice.
ironic thing.
Together. Yeah, it's always. Last year was my first year of hearing them speak before they went back home, and that was a cool meeting to kind of hear a little bit about their journey here, but also their culture at home.
It changes their lives in a positive way.
I bet. Well, so we got a big Rotary convention coming up here soon in Singapore. Tell us more about what's going on there.
Well, it's going to be a great convention, and I love a Rotary convention. You really appreciate the internationality of Rotary. And no matter what your passion is, Rotary does so many different things. A lot of other service organizations might focus on just doing eyeglasses or focus on one area. Rotary does so much. So if you have a project around the world and you want funding for it or you want volunteers on the ground, it's a great way to meet up with project partners. And people go to a convention because they want to see their friends that they haven't seen for a year from around the world. And there's all kinds of inspirational speakers, both Rotary speakers and non-Rotary speakers. People wear their international garb when they come. So if you're interested in seeing what people in Africa wear, it's wonderful. And I know Joe would like the street food in Singapore.
I was just going to say, what a nice city to have it in. I mean, Singapore is amazing, clean, and just really, really great place to have it. So exciting for them to host it because.
How many people attend generally?
You know, it's different years. This year they'll have about 12,000 people.
Holy moly.
It's not too late to sign up. And, different areas and different districts and zones have different events. So there might be a breakfast of those people from the Philippines or from Africa. So you could attend those different events too, and it's quite fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
How many international conventions have you been to so far?
Wow.
All of them.
I have to count them, but probably 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was your favorite one?
Oh, gosh.
What
That's really hard to say.
What was your most memorable one? They're all his favorite, Kelly.
Okay, most memorable.
I think when I was about to be club president and going to the one in Korea, South Korea, that was extra special because we had an exchange student living with us from Korea. So she actually flew with us and we flew back home. We got to meet her family. So her mom took us to the bank where she worked and we got to do some really cool things. They took us to a show that was singers. Every week they have singers. It's a national TV show, like America's Got Talent, but their version. Because her cousin was in the house band that played, and he played the trumpet in that band. And I kind of stood out because I was a little bit taller and I had pale complexion. Yep. So they brought me up on stage, and they were going to introduce, and Catherine too, they're going to introduce me to the singers. And Catherine started pulling me off stage because in her mind she thought I'd have to kiss a singer because they do that on the show. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
But it was funny to see a big white American on stage with all these. So it was because I stood out, right? Yeah. So there was just like a lot of little fun things to that one. Atlanta was especially fun for me because I have family in Atlanta. Okay. But every convention's been great. And to say which one was best, I couldn't say because they were just all so wonderful.
All in their own way, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they're all so specific. Like, and I guess that could lead us into what are some of if our listeners are curious of what a convention's like, kind of overarching themes that a convention tries to accomplish, and then obviously each convention does it in their own own way based on the location and timing?
Well, first, there's a Rotary International staff that are absolutely fantastic, and they don't pawn everything off to an outside vendor. They actually do it. So there's a person in charge of transportation, and Shannon Watson is head of the whole meeting and events, and they do such a good job. They have plenary sessions where they have speakers and everyone comes, and sometimes, depending on the venue, if it's smaller, they'll have 2 opening sessions or 2 closing sessions. Then they have breakout sessions where you could actually learn about Rotary. So if you're interested in public image or you're interested in growing membership, you can go to those breakout sessions. And then, of course, there's entertainment and fun things. And there's local signature events that you could attend. And they're all really, really fun.
Sounds amazing.
It does.
But, the uniqueness of them all is probably the local signature events, I bet.
Yes. Yeah.
So we have one this year, and then next year's Canada, and then 2029 in Minneapolis.
Yes, we will be hosting, and that's been announced.
That's pretty exciting.
Yes, it is.
Exciting to have it home here with us.
Yep.
So as you go into your year with Stephanie, are you involved with planning? I know you said there's somebody there, but are you guys kind of every day or every week kind of getting updates on the planning for the convention? Because it's kind of the celebration of the year.
Mm-hmm. So the convention is broken down to 2 planning groups. There's the International Convention Committee, which the president nominee will choose, 5 to 6 people around the world who work on that. But that usually doesn't come into fruition until a couple of years before a convention. Then there's a host organizing committee, which is the local folks, and they get involved right away. And they're usually composed of some people who were on the bid process, who filled out the application, conducted the site visits, things like that. So you have 2 different groups. And the head of the host organizing committee, the local group, she or he usually sits on the convention committee. So, of course, it's amazing what our staff at Rotary International does, and they're usually working on, 5 or 6 different events at the same time. But typically, when you push for a convention, you get the convention. It's some local work's being done in forming a committee, raising money, things like that. But the actual convention committee it doesn't really get together till a few years before. So right now we're focusing on Singapore as an organization, trying to get people there. Then when that's done, then they'll focus on Calgary, and then they'll focus on the next one and the next one and the next one. But our staff is working on 5 at the same time. It's just amazing what those people do.
Well, it sounds like a big lift. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I do like the purposefulness, though, around that, rather than, dipping your toes in all of these different little swimming pools and trying to do it all at once. It's like, okay, nope, our primary focus is Singapore.
Yes.
Well, makes sense too.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does.
I mean, I'm sure in their planning though, there's things that make sense for all of them 5 years out, right? Like that you're organizing those things 5 years out, and it makes sense for all of them, so you can kind of block it all together. And then it just changes as the time frame compacts. That's interesting. That's a really cool angle to think about how all that planning works, because most of us are probably like, what do you mean 6 months out? You just throw her together, don't you?
Not with Rotary.
Maybe that's like it's like parties at our house. It's like, looks like we're doing one today.
Yeah.
That's true. But with international organizations, like we mentioned, the Council on Legislation, legislation for that 2025 vote had to be in by last December. And why is that? Because, when it comes to legislation, there's translation that has to be done in multiple different languages, because we're in over 200 countries and many languages are spoken. And, of course, it has to go through, we have a staff of lawyers in the corporate governance. Yeah. So there's a lot of,
Oh, yes.
Yes. I'm familiar with compliance.
In your industry, you would be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What are you most excited about out of all? We've touched on a couple of things coming up, but as the year approaches, are there a couple things you're the most excited about? Or?
That seems like it would be a hard question, but it's really an easy question. The more I'm in Rotary, the more I realize it's all about the people and the people that you meet. And it's I'm most excited about the opportunities I have to travel, especially internationally with Stephanie, because to see the good that's being done in the world, it's people can complain about politics or maybe things like that, but if you actually see the good work that's being done, whether you go to Korea or the Philippines or you go to Mexico, the best part is always the people. And when you travel with Stephanie, we just recently got back from REMAX, so all the different areas of Mexico come together. And, to meet those people and to see the projects that they're doing is just absolutely amazing.
Is the whole year mapped out for travel? Or is there some flexibility for
So we sat last week, and I get 10 international trips to travel and support Stephanie. But a trip could be, if we go to Korea and the Philippines, that would be one trip if it's all.
Yeah.
So we only planned up to January, and I listen to her as to where she needs support.
Yeah.
And that depends on certain areas of the world might need more physical support because there's so many people at a certain area. Mm-hmm. So in that case, I'm a bodyguard more so than other things. But of course, I always have to be with her, but at the same time, you always want to be polite and take business cards. And if someone gives her a present, try to mark that gift with tape and a Sharpie of who gave her that gift so we could write thank you notes and that kind of thing. But definitely meeting people and seeing the good people around the world just warms your heart. That's the best.
It certainly is giving me the warm fuzzies just in, we have so many different guests here on the show. And, I think of Braver Angels, right, and the topic of politics. And it's nice to hear, though, that when you're traveling and you're seeing the international component of everything, like all of these little things that we worry about are just so teeny tiny in comparison to like how big the world actually is. And I don't know if I'm phrasing that properly, but maybe you're understanding my
you're 100%,
where I'm going with
you're 100% correct. You're 100% correct.
He's on my way.
So like when we went to Korea, there was an adult male who was just sobbing when he met Stephanie because his mother was living in an apartment that the electricity didn't work. It was full of mold. And Rotary came in and remodeled that apartment so electricity was good and that kind of thing. And it was fun, painting the outside of that wall. But seeing that person thanking Stephanie because she was the embodiment of Rotary for that person. And then going to the Philippines and seeing the houses that were built, going to Pakistan and seeing so many people were dislodged by a terrible flood and seeing the huts that were built by these smart villages and seeing these people putting those polio drops. When a parent, you could just see them crying because they know their kid will never be crippled because they're getting those drops. All those things, if there were a little politics going around, the good in the world that you see overcomes all of that.
I think the last time we had you on, you were just about to head to, was it Pakistan, Afghanistan area?
It was amazing. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. Of course, our club, we sell those flowers at Mother's Day time, and, the poinsettias during the holidays. But to see what is done with that money is absolutely amazing. And, certain times you talk to epidemiologists, and some of them say, oh, well, we'll never cure polio because it's in war-torn area. I tell you, we will cure polio because I've seen those frontline workers, 90% who are female, who, more than 40 of them have given their lives, have been martyred while they're trying to give those drops. I will tell you the determination in those people, it's going to happen. And going to the tracking station in Pakistan, talking to the people who run the labs, I said, they're all smiling, they're all happy. And I say, well, what are you most excited about? And the head person at the lab said, well, now it takes us 35 days to track where a sample came from. But the technology is getting so good, we'll be able to do that in 5 days. Well, you see that determination, I know that it'll be solved. And it's only between, the border between two countries of Pakistan and Afghanistan. But I now have renewed enthusiasm about that we're going to cure that disease after being there.
That's got to be helpful because we've had multiple people on to talk about polio, and one of the challenges is keeping people motivated. Like, oh, we've done it most of the way.
Yeah.
So close to the end.
And it's especially hard over here, Joe, because in our minds it's something in the history books because we don't see it here. But to go over there and see the people who have been affected by it. I mean, we've had 3 cases in 2024. But one of those cases, actually, I think, the polio community is excited about from the standpoint that it happened in January, but for a while it wasn't reported because Afghanistan didn't want to say they had a case. So eventually they agreed to send the sample and it was a case. So it's a 3rd case. We never won any cases, but it's getting to the point where we know where to focus and we are doing more tests in the area where it's at and we have more workers there. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to cure this disease. And the other thing is it's polio plus. So we're doing more than just polio. We're giving vitamin A. It's estimated that over 1 million children haven't died because they got this vitamin A. And during COVID, we were helping with that too. So we will have a legacy in Rotary that we will be able to put to use in other places. And yes, it's important to get that money in, but we have a network of people working on that, and that network can be leveraged to do other things as well.
I love that. That's so great. So speaking of legacy, you're coming up to the end of your year prepping for being the aide to the president. So you're speaking to the person that's going to be you this coming year. So coming up, right? So I don't know who that is. I'm sure you do.
Yep.
What's the number one piece of advice coming for them coming into this year? So like, this has been your preparatory year. Wow, it's called English. I speak it. I promise.
Oh my God.
So you're talking about the next aide to the next president.
Yes.
Yeah, that will be Susie Howe. She's a wonderful person out of Texas, and I worked for Susie when she was our director. So she's our director. Our zone pair runs from Canada down to the top of South America. So Susie. She convened an institute in Houston, which I ran for her as head of the institute. So we are really good friends, and we talk frequently. And I guess the biggest piece of advice I would say is always talk to staff, always talk to your president, and just be supportive as you can. I mean, when I wake up in the morning, there's a bunch of emails and a bunch of WhatsApp and a bunch of direct messages and a bunch of phone calls saying, Stephanie's coming to India. Can we get some pictures? So I would say, sure. What kind of pictures do you want? But the most important thing is to talk to these people and listen to these people. So Stephanie had a call the other day from someone who wanted to do an international project around the eclipse, and it was a new Rotarian, and she was very passionate. And sometimes we can't move quickly enough to get an international project done around something that's coming, in the next couple of months or something. But it's important that you always listen to these people and that you always talk to these people, and they appreciate that. The worst thing you can do is not return calls, not return emails. And no matter how busy I am or where I am in the world, I say I will try to do my best to get back to people and get them what they needed. And it might be as simple as, hey, Tom, we heard you speak. Can we have your PowerPoint? Hey, have you ever can you answer us these questions on this? So if I can help Stephanie in that way, listening and returning calls and being proactive, that's the best thing you can do. And if you can't answer it, fix them up with someone who can.
Yeah,
delegate.
Love it.
Communications.
Be responsive.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's how you keep people happy. You help them.
Is there anything specific that you, at the end of the presidential year this next year, that like kind of a personal goal for yourself and going, I want to learn this, or I want to be exposed to, use this opportunity to be exposed to something specific for yourself, not just for Rotary International, but just kind of a personal growth piece?
So that's a very good question, Joe, and it's a great question coming after that last question you asked because, being an aide in Rotary is like anything in Rotary. You can do a lot or you don't have to do as much. Mm-hmm. So my goal for myself was to learn as much as possible. I remember the last time we were here, we talked about our policies are 507 pages. Well, that's true. And, you know, being a recovering attorney, I'm an attorney, I'm licensed in a few states. You think that you can read everything and learn it, but there's 5,000 pages of unwritten. So what I have made a goal over the last few years is trying to get to meet as many people as I can on the committees and the staffs. So the staff has been very nice in helping me, giving me PowerPoints, things like that. But also the committees. I've gone to every major committee I could think of that's important, that I can get the whole picture. Mm-hmm. So when you go to the finance committee, which I attend once a month virtually, and then the in-person meetings, you get a feel for the numbers. But then when you go to the audit committee, you get a feel for the risk. And then when you go to what they term the ORC, we have lots of acronyms, the Operation Review Committee, well, you know, that sets compensations and it looks at longer term things. It's like that, what they say about the elephant. You know, the Finance Committee, I might feel the leg. The ORC, I might feel the side. And then maybe the other committees, I feel the trunk. And up until this time, the only international committee I've been serving on was the International Membership Growth Committee, which I have now gotten off of to better serve Stephanie. But when she's done with her year, I'll be reappointed by President Mario. He's asked me to chair that committee for him. Oh, wow. But up until then, I only saw it in terms of membership. I didn't see how everything else works. So my personal goal, in order to serve Stephanie the best I can, is to learn as much as I can and meet as many people as I can. And I've been trying my hardest to do that.
I like the answer. Can you think of something specific? Like, is there something that you're very, very
I was gonna say
passionate about? Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's a nice way of saying. That was a good answer to the question. But do you want to answer the question?
Yeah. So I guess the most important thing in my mind when I boil it all down is to grow our Rotary membership. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, what am I most passionate about? I love doing these service projects. I love going to Honduras, and I love making an impact by taking that infant mortality from 85% in that village down to 25% because we got them fresh water. But how do we do that, and how do we have more impact? We need more people. Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to it, if you read our bylaws, our Rotary International documents, and Article 5 says we're a membership organization. Mm-hmm. But why do we want those members? So we can do more projects and do more good in the world. But it's up to us. You know, all day long I get calls and emails and all those other things that say, what can Rotary do? What can Rotary do? And I just want to say to the world, Rotary is us. It's our members. Yeah. And what do we have to do? We have to bring in more members. You know, when you go to a President-elect training seminar, there's 18 different goals that these President-elects have to put in. But I say focus on a few goals and accomplish those. Of course, we have to have goals in all those areas. I'm not saying don't set the goals, but focus on a few. And if you had to choose one, when I was president of my club, I chose to focus on membership.
Sure.
We brought in 31 people working together during my year. But I'll tell you what, we raised more money than we ever did for polio. We did more international projects, did more local projects, because you have more hands and hearts to do that work. Yeah. So if I had to say focus, I would say focus on membership. And that's why for the last few years I've been serving on that committee. And that's why I was...
Yeah, you've been championing the heck out of that. So
for sustainability in the long term, not even doing more, but even to sustain, that's the important.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, it's the foundational pillar. I mean, without the people, you can't do the work. So you can plan all the work and you can budget and you can do whatever you want. You can fundraise for that matter. And if you don't have people, none of it works.
That's right. The people are the most important, as always.
I like the way you put that is, you know, Rotary is us. Like Rotary is us.
We spoke off air. You mentioned the Rose Bowl float, which we've had Wade on talking about it a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
But what will you guys be doing next year or upcoming year with the parade and the float?
So the float is being worked on right now.
All righty.
The year before last, I was on every committee you could be on for the float, you know, because it's all fun, the design, the decorating, and all that. But Stephanie will be riding the float. What we'll be doing now is it's the people, it's a committee. Rotary gives a little bit of money, but a small percentage 10% probably. It costs about $200,000 to do the size float that we do. It costs up to $1 million if you're a for-profit corporation that are using it for advertising.
Wow.
And Stephanie will ride on the float on the television side as it goes down, and there's nothing more fun than being on that float. You gotta, make sure you can wave for 4 hours.
Train
It might be 2 hours on TV, but it takes a while to get through.
What is it? Elbow, wrist, wrist.
Elbow, wrist. Yes. So the year before last, so to get the money to build this float, we have people who pay to ride with the president and his or her spouse or partner, and they walk alongside. So I paid to ride on the float with Jennifer Jones, our first female president, and that was just an experience of a lifetime. So it was really fun.
Very cool.
Yeah, when we had Wade on, there was a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
And you kind of forget, like, a float. If you're not big into parades, you're like, a float, okay.
Yeah.
But it's really cool, all the thought process that goes into it, the theming, the way it's constructed, who's there to help, who's there walking with it, and just kind of the whole process. And then obviously it's all there for the Rose Bowl too. So
Yeah.
In sunny California.
Yeah, it's not a bad spot to be.
It'll be fun.
It'll be cold here. Well, we're getting towards the end here. What do you want to leave the listeners with? We've got about 5 minutes left on what to be excited about, or obviously membership, but in general, what would you like the listeners to hear?
For our listeners who aren't Rotarians, I'd like for them to give Rotary a try. I mean, you have a chance, and you only have one lifetime to leave a legacy. And the best way to leave a legacy is to serve others. And out of all the organizations I looked at, Rotary is the best place to serve others. And no matter what you're passionate about, whether it be child literacy or whether it be, water projects or whether it be eradicating a disease, it's much more fun to do it with friends. It's much more fun to do it in a group. I belong to a traditional club, which all of you are in. So we meet once a week, and I always feel like a better person because we have just great speakers.
Isn't that the truth?
It really is. Yeah. But if you don't want to come to a meeting and you just want to do projects, we have clubs that do that. If you want to just serve veterans, we have cause-based clubs where the speakers and the projects are just around those causes. If you want to end human trafficking, we have a club that does that. And if there's something else I haven't mentioned, and if we don't have we'll help you form a club.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, you can do Rotary your way. It's not your grandfather's rodeo. Rotary.
Sometimes it's a rodeo.
Stephanie likes to say that we used to be Romeo, rich old men eating out. But we're not that way anymore. We're very diverse, and we're getting more diverse. So give Rotary a try is my message.
I love it.
It's exciting time as we lead up to it. I'm excited to see the work that's done and see where it goes from here.
Yeah, and we've had a couple other individuals on who are going to be making their transition to Sharon Bloodworth being one of them. And so, to your point, it is a very exciting time that's going to be coming up here very shortly.
Yeah, I will say
we're going to blink our eyes.
The transition stuff, like, it brings so much energy because it's hard to keep energy for a long period of time. Like, it's always easy to come in with enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. So it's good that we switch that out, especially on, like, the president level and, like, the ones that it's the grenades. And so it's really nice to see all the new energy, and it's always an exciting time of the year just to see how people put their stamp on everything. And, oh, that worked. Oh, maybe we can do that better next time. It's a growing process.
For when the transition happens, is there like a swearing in like you see with the president? And it's not at the convention. It's on July 1st, basically.
Yep. So she's already living in the presidential condo. There's two, the president-elect and the president. So her living arrangements don't change. But what they do is they have 3 flagpoles instead of in front of Rotary International, and they will host the country's flag of the president who's serving. So Scotland will come down, and then the U.S. will go up. And the U.S. flag's already up there because the headquarters there, so maybe we're working on get a Pennsylvania flag for Stephanie.
Oh my gosh, fun.
There is a moving of office on the same floor, and all 3 offices are beautiful, but she moves into a new office. And then sometimes there's a celebration, either locally or in Evanston. There is a 4th of July parade, which for the U.S., that's our Independence Day. So sometimes if the president is in town at that time, she or he will ride in a float there too. But generally there's a big celebration around the world because everyone's excited about the leadership that's coming in. And she has the 24-25 class of governors that Sharon's in are just amazing people. One of my jobs that I do is I help Stephanie for the president representatives assigning people who are senior leaders and other type of leaders to the district conferences. We already have a higher response than usual for people requesting president's rep for their conferences. So this class coming in, all the classes are great, but I'm particularly excited about this class because they got together before they met in person at International Assembly in January, and they've been keeping together as a group working on things. So it's exciting.
Cool is that?
Really cool.
We'll have to bring you on for number 5.
Hey. Looking forward to it.
My last thought is how nice it has been to have a front row seat, knowing you and having you a part of our club, and having accessibility to have you on our show too, and just speak on behalf of Stephanie. It's been fun.
It's been a ton of fun to see it from the ground floor all the way up and kind of going, oh, okay, I can see how you get involved, because sometimes the leap between your club and Rotary International, you're like, oh, how do you even do that?
Different
Yeah.
levels.
So
It does.
to see it, you're like, oh yeah, you just got to keep saying yes and keep serving.
Yep.
That's right. That's perfect. Say yes.
Well, Tom, thank you. It's been such a pleasure, as always. And, even though this is your 4th time, and that's very representative of a lot of stuff within Rotary, you'll be on again.
Thank you.
No doubt. So
Can't wait.
thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in, and we'll be back. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson. See you next segment.
Show off your Rotary Club spirit with Russell Hampton Company. They're the world's largest provider of licensed Rotary items. They make everything like hats, jackets, shirts, banners, and more. Russell Hampton Company is a 4th-generation family-owned and operated business founded in 1920 by a member of the first-ever Rotary Club in Chicago, Club Number 1. When you call Russell Hampton Company, you get more than just a company. You get a fellow Rotarian-owned business who's there to help. No matter if you're ordering for your entire club or just yourself, no order is too big or too small. Not sure what your club needs? Their team members can help and customize just about anything. They live by the Rotary 4-way test. They also give 10% of all purchases back to Rotary to support Rotary's global work. So remember, Russell Hampton Company is your one-stop shop for all things Rotary. Learn more at bestclubsupplies.com. That's bestclubsupplies.com. Russell Hampton Company, Rotarians serving Rotarians.
For decades, eradicating polio worldwide has been Rotary's cornerstone cause. We are incredibly close to ridding the globe of this virus, but we need everyone's help to get us to the goal. World Polio Day is October 24th. Please consider making a new donation to Polio Plus or increasing your already generous giving. Go to endpolio.org to be a part of this historical eradication of polio. You will help get vaccinations to the most remote parts of our world and help fulfill a promise we made to end polio now. 2 drops and it stops.
Of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Join Rotary to serve your community and the world with honesty, fairness, and goodwill. Our 4-way test guides our actions every day. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? These values underpin our commitment to making a positive impact on the world. Learn more about your local Rotary Club and stop searching and start serving. And the song you're hearing now was performed by Rotary Club of Dar es Salaam Oyster Bay.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all
Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk.
And I'm Chad Larson.
That Tom. He sure is a joy, isn't he?
Jet setting and doing a lot of things.
Yes, he is. And very much in anticipation for this upcoming Rotary season, if you will, as being the aide to Stephanie Urchek.
Who will be the president
Who will be
of
the
Rotary
president.
International. Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's always good to have Tom. Obviously, we get to see him a little bit more at club meetings, but he's always got a lot going on, and he shared even more about what they have going on this year, which is cool, and told us a little bit about the
Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl, but no, the
Yeah, Calgary.
Calgary and
Conference.
Singapore, that's what I
Singapore.
was looking for.
That's right, because he couldn't give too much away.
Yeah, because Calgary's the following year. Singapore's coming up. But
Yep.
always good to have Tom on. Fourth time guest we've ever had, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do something special for number 5, I think.
I think so.
maybe be able to squeeze them in here yet before they transition. I don't know if that'll be possible.
I
though.
bet we will. We'll have to get an update about halfway through and
Yeah.
Yeah.
hear more.
Even if he's not in studio.
Oh, I'm saying before they transition.
Oh, no.
I know that
Oh,
that's
probably not.
going to be a near impossibility, but
I don't think his
certainly
travel
after.
schedule will allow it.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I mean, even if we get him halfway through, I think that's a nice time. But it's always nice to hear kind of what happens at the Rotary International level, let alone the top of the international level, where you don't really realize it's like a small country. That
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. It's
Or a big country.
or a big country. Yeah. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
geographically,
Or
yeah, but
millions, a lot of people are
yeah. I mean, it's. But I mean,
I know what you mean.
Tom talks a lot about the governance and some of the structure, and it's kind of like getting back into your social studies class in elementary school again, and you're like, oh my gosh, you're like a country. And
Good thing he
but
was a lawyer in his previous life.
right,
Yeah.
But what's really cool about it is you see how structured Rotary is, and when you have a nice structure like that, there creates a lot of trust and a lot of predictability of outcomes.
Yeah. I think it's also cool. What he always preaches is you can make Rotary your own, too. And he knows how to navigate that and try
Yeah.
and evolve things, too.
He absolutely is the go-to guy because he has been a facilitator in supporting ideas
Yep.
that individuals have had and really helped to make those come to fruition. It's just a magic man. He's got the magic wand.
Yeah.
Well, we're so lucky and blessed to be able to have him on and have that type of insight. I mean, most people don't get that insight, so
Yeah.
I mean, that's the power of this show.
If you're listening, Tom, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we certainly do. We hope you enjoyed this episode with Mr. Tom Gump. I'm your host, Kelly Kirk.
I'm Joe Kirk,
And I'm Chad Larson.
As a reminder, it's time to stop searching.
and start serving.
See you next week.